car. It's like, what were you doing? Like, how much Heineken were you drinking on that day? Let me do it. No, I want to do it. No, that was Austrian. Take this car to Ghana, Nigeria, and Tanzania. Yes guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be going out for our first real drive since getting the car mapped with a stage 1 boot mode 3 map courtesy of Define Coding. So a stage 1 remap gives it about a 30 brake horsepower increase from factory, going from 370 to 400. So the big question is, do I need more, or has this hit the sweet spot? Let's find out. Okay. Oh, theft block. There we go. Let me explain how this works. So unfortunately, car theft is on the rise, and a contributing factor will be keys like this. So your comfort keys, where you can just have them in the vehicle and it starts. What thieves are doing is actually standing outside your house or your coffee shops and boosting the signal from this key to your car, which could be parked 50 meters away, and driving off with your pride and joy. This is where theft block comes in, and they provide either a pouch, or you can go for the box that can stay in your house and you can pop all your keys inside to stop your keys from getting their signal boosted and somebody driving off with your car. If you don't want that, you can have a pouch which can just stay with you. So you get out of your car, you put it in, you go to work, you put it in, and it's a layer. And like with anything in life, the more layers you have on something, the sturdier it's going to be. So yeah, go and check them out. I'll leave a link to their website in the description, and I hope you enjoy the video. So stage 1, boot mode 3 off-the-shelf map on the BMW M2. Firstly, why did I do it? I wanted better power, I wanted a bit more performance, but with this being an older engine in the M car lineup, there wasn't much gains for what you paid. So let me just break this down. Most people actually remap their car for either more power or more efficiency. Believe it or not, you can actually remap your car if you have, like, I don't know, a lorry or something like that, diesel van, and you can make it more efficient, which is, I don't know how they do it, but they'll play around with some of the variables and probably give you a bit more torque lower down to stop you from having to push that pedal and request as much fuel. So it does make it more efficient, and we'll touch on whether that's improved on this as well. But I felt that this car, 370 in a car like this, is probably a bit of an understatement. And as I mentioned in the previous video with Define Coding, I personally feel that the sweet spot for the M2 is probably going to be around the 450 mark. So 450, this is a lot of gravelage. You know what? Oh yes. So as you can see, that gravelage is obviously causing my wheels to have a bit of slippage. This car is obviously running a stage 1 boot mode 3 off-the-shelf map. Off-the-shelf meaning it hasn't been custom refined. It's literally been tried and tested probably over 6,000 times. I don't know why I said those numbers, but quite a lot of times. And then they've said, you know, this is suitable for any car to just plug and play. So it's plug and play, off-the-shelf map, but it has obviously been tried and tested numerous times. So I did call this a stage 1, and I had a few messages, and it was quite an arrogant, rather mean person that DM'd me, and we were going a bit like a couple of forward and back between us, and it was like, don't call it a stage 1, call it a remap. And I was like, okay. It was like, yeah, don't do that. I was like, all right, Dad. But yeah, stage 1 essentially means your car hasn't got any bolt-ons, so it doesn't need an air filter or an exhaust or a fuel pump or anything. It just means we plug something in, boom, here's your extra power. Stage 2, however, most petrol heads know it as you're going to need a bolt-on. Whether that's going to be a downpipe to give you a bit more flow. These roads are shocking. Like, I'm not paying road tax for. Forget it. Oh, easy now, jazz. But yeah, stage 1 off the shelf, and it's okay. It's actually okay. But don't get me wrong, I'm not entirely happy with it. And let me tell you why. So if we think about modern day petrol turbocharged cars, a stage 1 remap normally aims to give you, I want to say, around a 50 brake horsepower increase, especially on the BMW engines. If you compare it to your B58, M140, 240, 340, etc., you'd know that, I know it's a newer engine, but an increase of 30 bhp is noticeable, because obviously it's increasing the PSI of the turbo as well, but overall it's not a night and day difference. It's noticeable, but it's not a night and day difference. And bearing in mind, this car actually came with a sports car, which I wasn't aware of when I purchased it. Not that I'm complaining, because I have heard it's quite a fiddly job to do. Not that I do it myself, probably get Williams Performance to do it for me anyway. But yeah, it came with a VSRF sports car, and touch wood, it served me very, very well. Even to a point where I did have a tip with a M2 comp, and that M2 comp, we were kind of neck and neck originally. So that means that the sports car on an M55 probably does add quite a bit. So if you bear that in mind, I actually think we might be going for a tad over 410. So let me know, do you think we should dyno it? I'm not a strong fan of dyno, but I'm more about performance, but it is nice to know what you're actually getting from what you're paying for. So if you think about the norm on the N55 cars, charge pipe known to crack under boost, etc., even on a stock car apparently. So that was one of the first things we've done. So we got a forged charge pipe from Williams Performance. We've also got a pipe across drop-in air filter, so courtesy of Motec Performance. We've slapped that in, we've got the charge pipe, we've got the sports cat, and those supporting mods are not even enough to go stage 2. So to go stage 2 in this car, which is estimated to get around 420, 430 brake horsepower, you need to change the intercooler. I hate these blind bends, but it's got to be done. Yeah, you're going to get around 420 brake horsepower, and for me, I still think that's underpowered. So most people just normally go straight stage 2 and then go above, but I thought, you know what, with this car being such a great handling car out of the box, they really need to trim these hedges, like really now. But you know, when there's loose gravel and the fine coatings obviously put a GTS, MDM, CS flash, I don't know what it's really called, but GTS and CS flashes, it means when you go around bends, you get a bit of slide. So on top of that, I know I digress quite a bit, but I'm no longer driving DSC off thanks to the fine coding. He said, Tim, I love you, but you're going to kill yourself. You are going to kill yourself. He said to me, Tim, DSC off, save it for the tracks. If you do step out, I was like, mate, I'll go. He's like, no, let's try the CS flashes. And my main reason for not wanting to drive in Sports Plus, number one was the throttle, which we cannot change at the minute. But number two, it was how intrusive the MDM module worked. So how intrusive it looked, it literally snapped you out of slides and stuff like that. But with the GTS flash that he put on the MDM, it's given me a lot more freedom. Don't get me wrong, it still intervenes, so it still saves you, which is what he wants to do because he doesn't want me to die. Respect for that. But woo-wee, what are you doing? Are we gonna fit? Are we gonna fit? Of course we're gonna fit. I'm calm. I was never panicking. Yeah. There you go. So it still intervenes, but it's not as aggressively intervening as it was before, to a point where you're fighting with the car because it's like, let me do it. I want to do it. Let me do it. German accent. Let me do it. No, I want to do it. No, that was Austrian. But yeah, as I was saying, this car out of the box, handling wise, it does what it needs to do. So I thought stage 1 would be enough, but due to the weight of the car, I think, and obviously I keep saying it, but maybe it was my own fault, coming from a 470 brake horsepower 140, this car was never going to feel fast enough. But it's one of those boxes I had to tick to say, you know what, at least I tried it. Because then before we go put in a bit more handling mods on this car, before we take it around the world, we are actually going to take this car to Ghana, Nigeria and Tanzania. But yeah, we're going to take this car on a few road trips, don't you worry, and more track days coming up, 1 in August, 2 in August, and I believe 1 in October. But we've got to sit tight and see what happens with those, so that we don't go into another lockdown. But as I was saying, this car out the box handling is much improved from the M140. So I thought stage 1, tick that box, and then if needed, go stage 2. And I'm going to be very, very honest with you. This car isn't a stage 1 car. For the weight of it, and I really don't think it is. 370 was a big mistake from BMW, and they knew that, hence why the CS has 450 and the comp has 410. So in a nutshell, will I be going for more power? 110% yes. Stage 2, most likely. However, stage 2 would require intercooler. Bearing in mind, I've already been under the car, because when you had to change the charge pipe, intercooler's got to come out, and the intercooler is the same intercooler from a 116i. Bearing in mind, stock, The M2 has 370. A 116i, I believe, has about 150 brake horsepower. That's just a guesstimate. 150 brake horsepower. This car has double the brake horsepower, but they thought, you know what? We'd whack the same thing that's meant to keep this engine cool in the same car. It's like, what were you doing? Like, how much Heineken were you drinking on that day? So I'm gonna aim, before I do my track day, to actually whack an intercooler in here. It's not something that I need to film a video on, because it's kind of a well-known fact, and just told you as well. So it is gonna help with reducing temps, especially on track, because I have seen, not my car, but I have seen a few videos of M2s on track in the Nürburgring, on stock software, stock hardware, everything, and it does reach over 120 degrees in terms of that engine oil temperature. And I know it really isn't just down to the intercooler. It could be down to a few other things like ambient air temperature and whatnot, but that's the last thing I want to do, is start running into errors when I'm meant to be going for a proper hoon. So the big questions: has it transformed the car? And transform is a huge word. I would say no, but let me get to the rest of it. Efficiency, has it improved that, or has it done anything to it? Yes. So when you're hooning, it's gonna use more because you're requesting more from the turbo. But in terms of what a bike, Christ almighty. But you're just tempted to do this all the time. Like literally any opportunity you get, you know it's gonna be squeeze the throttle, squeeze it, lovely. But other than that, efficiency is always going to be improved when you map a car. And I'm not talking about your stage 3s and your hybrid turbos and your MEFs and whatnot. I'm talking about your average stage 1, stage 2 tunes. You don't have to press the throttle as much because you're getting a lot more torque low down. So technically you should be getting more efficiency. Cruising on the motorway, you're not going to see much difference, but around town you definitely should see an improvement, and it has had an improvement. In terms of its performance, has it improved? Yes. 370 to 400 is going to be noticeable, but it's not going to be wow, like pin me back in the back of my seat, wow sort of thing. So that is something to note. So the big question, will we be going further than the stage 1? 100% yes. I think this car is absolutely crying out for stage 2 at the bare minimum. Stage 1, yes, it's an improvement, but it's not a shove you in your back improvement to a point when you think, yeah, you know what, let's call it a day, let's move on to handling, even though again this car is a great car out of the box. So yes guys, as always, I hope you're having a great Sunday. I hope you're all well. Please give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless.